Hello everybody, Father Scott Vanderveer here on a snowy day to tell you a story about a holy moment. As we look at the awakening section of the Holy Moments book this week and consider the transfiguration of Jesus, where God says to us all, "Do you realize this is my beloved Son? Listen to him." I wanted to tell you a story about how God speaks and what listening sounds like and feels like and looks like. One day, on a day like this, I was driving on a very snowy day in a town where one of my last parishes was. And as I was driving up a hill, I saw a woman in her driveway struggling to get out. And I saw that she was engaging in one of my least favorite pet peeves. She was trying to drive without first cleaning off her car. I don't know about you, but for my personality type, I don't like that. I didn't like it. I've been behind cars on interstates that haven't cleaned off, and you know what it's like when the gust of wind takes that huge pile of snow and puts it all over you. Sometimes there's sheets of ice on top of the vehicle and it like catapults right toward you. It's a terrible feeling. I think it's unsafe. And so she had used her ice scraper to just make a little tiny hole in front of the driver's seat in the windshield, and she made a tiny little hole to look through on the driver's side window and another one on the passenger side window. And now she was trying to pull out, but her wheels were spinning. And I, in a moment of judgment, not my finest moment, said, "Good. I hope you can't get out until you clean off your car." I felt very appropriately self-righteous. I didn't feel guilty at all. I felt proud of myself for having a good, strong moral backbone. Well, then I drove a little further up the road and I heard a voice in my heart that said, "Go back and push that woman out of her driveway." It was unmistakable. I knew that I was being told to push her out of the driveway, to not leave her there, but to help her. The woman who's engaging in my pet peeve, the one I was judging. That's one of the ways you know it's God's voice, you know. It's an idea that you wouldn't have come up with yourself. And Matthew Kelly says a holy moment is when you give yourself completely over to the will of God. You don't check in with your preferences or your desires or your preferred way of doing something. You just align yourself with what God wants you to do. I gotta tell you, I don't always listen the way I should, but that day, something shifted in me and I said, "Oh, okay." And I turned the wheel of the car and I went back, and the woman was still in her driveway, but when I stopped and rolled down my window, I said, "Do you need a push? Can I help you?" And she said, No, I think I'm about to get it." She said, "But God bless you. You stopping to help me means the world to me on a day like this. Thank you so much." And a woman who I felt angry with and judgmental about suddenly became a friend. We know that listening to God's voice is the way to happiness. We just don't always do it. We know that there is no other way to experience God's guidance in our life than to listen and follow it. And the thing I've learned is that if you listen to God and do what God says, you almost always wind up hearing God's voice louder the next time. If you listen to God, God's voice gets louder in your ears. If you don't listen to God, God's voice gets quieter. We all need guidance, and we all need God to help us. So I hope you'll join me in trying to do a better job listening to the voice of God and acting on it. May God bless you.